We'll move on to our next speaker now. Our next speaker is Siddharth Valichalla. Siddharth is a writer, producer, and educator from Indian Dalit community. He currently lives in Los Angeles, USA.
Thank you so much, Farooq. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. To everybody, salam alaikum. Farooq and others, is it okay if I share my screen? It might be easier for you all to follow along. Okay. The issue always with an oppressed community is that we never get to tell our stories or our narrative. And even today, as I hear about our Independence Day and everything, there is always this story of India has got its independence and Gandhi and others were the ones who helped get it. But the topic that was given to me was about Dr. Ambedkar and his struggles through independence movement. So I wanted to focus on that and also tie in the Muslim community along with it. So Dr. Ambedkar's most important question, and one which we still need to ask, is we got freedom, but who gets to enjoy that freedom? So the question that he used to ask during the time of independence, even when Lala Lajpat Rai asked him when he was in New York to join Indian National Congress and fight for the freedom of India, his question was for Lala Lajpat Rai, are you fighting for freedom of India or freedom of people of India? Because for Dr. Ambedkar, people of India mattered, and for people of India mean all the Bahujan, Dalits, minorities, religious minorities, and all the oppressed people. So that's the first question that Dr. Ambedkar asked. To continue on and prove that Indian National Congress and other upper caste Brahmins were only fighting for freedom of the country, not the countrymen, we can look at an example of where we clearly see this. In 1946, there was a requirement to fill in the Constituent Assembly, which would work towards the Constitution of India, which would discuss whether we need to have India, Pakistan, or whatnot. So Dr. Ambedkar's party lost everywhere, actually, because Congress made sure that they didn't want to have Dr. Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly and writing the Constitution. So they ensured that Dr. Ambedkar does not win from anywhere. So at that point in time, in what is now Bangladesh, there was a leader who shared with Dr. Ambedkar that if you come and contest from a couple of districts in Bengal, we'll ensure that you will get elected. And he had that confidence that he can get Dr. Ambedkar elected because of the huge SC/ST population there and also Muslim population there. So Dr. Ambedkar does go and win election from these two districts, and he gets to go to Constituent Assembly. But this is where we can see how bad Indian National Congress doesn't want Dr. Ambedkar to come into the Constitution. So in the partition of Bengal into West Bengal and East Pakistan, they freely gave away those two districts from which Dr. Ambedkar won, thereby making it irrelevant for Dr. Ambedkar to be part of Constituent Assembly. So though he is now elected and can go to the Constituent Assembly, the two districts from which he won are part of East Pakistan. So he has no say in the Constitution of India. That's how they tried to suppress Dr. Ambedkar. Eventually, it so happens that they realize that Dr. Ambedkar is the only one who can write a good constitution for India. So they later on, Dr. Ambedkar does win election from Pune. That's a whole different topic. And that's how we have Dr. Ambedkar writing the constitution. But the point I'm trying to show here is that Indian National Congress, Brahmin-led parties have taken every step to make sure that the oppressed stay oppressed. And they show it by this one example where it is modern day humongous size gerrymandering. When they realize that they don't want a particular leader coming from a district and deciding the fate of the oppressed people, they conveniently didn't even care and gave those districts away to East Pakistan. So that's one thing. So one of the things, okay, the main reason I'm trying to start with this is we are all worried about NRC and CAA and the number of refugees in Assam or whatnot. Where do you think those refugees come from? So when we look at NRC and say in Assam there are about 19 lakh, 1.9 million refugees, and out of them 1.4 million refugees are SCs and STs, where do you think they came from? They come from this inconsiderate gerrymandering where you, just because you don't want Dr. Ambedkar to come into the Constituent Assembly, you chop off districts and give it off to East Pakistan. And then the people from there, the SC, ST, and the Buddhist community, which have now gone over to East Pakistan, can't really relate to that country, or they still have ties back through families in the Assam, Old Bengal area. So they keep coming back in there. So one of the reasons I bring this up is to show that when Indian government does anything and says that it's against Muslims or tries to portray it against Muslims, it is more or less against the Aboriginals, against the Mool Nivasi people. So this is a good example where we show that Indian history is always a mortal combat between Buddhism and Brahmanism. So anything which comes across as anything else, like a Hindu-Muslim conflict or India-Pakistan conflict, is always to keep the SC, ST community, who were original Buddhists of the country, suppressed. One of the other things with regards to self-government is we all have heard this statement by Tilak, and we all get proud when we hear this. Swaraj mera janma siddha adhikar hai aur main ise lekar rahunga. We all get puffed up in the chest and say, oh my God, this is such a patriotic statement. Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. But the same Tilak made sure that his version of Swaraj was only Swaraj for the Brahmins, because Tilak had a discussion with the Britishers saying that, why are you getting into all of this big conflict? Let us rule along with you. Let us Brahmins rule along with you, and there is no need for a freedom struggle. So you got to realize who you follow when you say that some of the leaders have stood for patriotism and for Indian independence. I'll skip the second roundtable conference and I'll come to the present day India. And this is the India which is Brahmin Raj, basically. We call it Hindu Raj, but when you come to the basics of it, if Brahmins are the ones who have all the national parties, Indian National Congress is a Brahmin party, BJP is a Brahmin party, CPI, CPIM, and Trinamool Congress, every one of those parties has been created and founded by Brahmins, and they are the main five parties. So Brahmins rule in the legislature sphere. In the executive sphere, IAS, IPS, IRS, IFS, 80% of them are Brahmins. In the judiciary, 90% of judiciary is with upper caste. You get one or two Muslim judges here and there in the Supreme Court for sure. And then we don't have a Dalit Supreme Court justice right now, nor do we have an ST judge. Similarly with media, every single media company which can be called noteworthy is run by Brahmins or Vaishyas. The reason I bring this up is to show that many of us have this Galatfahmi. We are under this Galatfahmi that BJP came and suddenly India became a fascist country. My point here is Rajinder Sachar Commission came out in 2006 and it showed that from a good representation of about 40% of Muslims in every sector of Indian government, defense, railways, banks, legislature, executive, and everything, it has now fallen down to 2 or 3% in 2006. So you gotta see from 1950, after India became a republic and we had the Republic Day, that's when general elections happened and Congress came in power, till 2006. That's about 60 years, right? 50 to 2010. Yeah, about 55 years. Out of these 55 years, for 50 years, Indian National Congress was in power. So who do you think systemically cut down on the number of applicants from the Muslim community from getting into executive bodies or jobs or defense and everything? So we gotta really think that while BJP is kullam kulla doing fascism, Indian National Congress has always been for the Brahmin party. It has been the original Brahmin party. So you gotta be careful when Muslims, because you see BJP as the rowdy gang, you go to the other side, which is Indian National Congress, but it's just white collar criminals there. Just wanted you guys to remember this. And if you have not read the Rajinder Sachar Commission report, please do. It came out in 2006. It's easily available on the internet. Also, one of the things I always worry about and always wonder is whenever any Muslim person brings about anything which is questioning Indian government or Indian leaders, suddenly the common question which is thrown in their face is, why are you still here? You're a Muslim. अरे तुझे तो पाकिस्तान जाना था, यहाँ पे क्यों है तू अभी भी? I want Muslims to know the answers for these questions. Pakistan happened for whatever reason, but Muslims are now still in India. You are pretty loyal to India. So you need to be able to question these outsiders who are questioning you. Islam came into India and Islam embraced the Aboriginals. There are enough Muslims, like you all said. There are Dalits who are Muslims. There are Shudras who are Muslims. It is the Brahmins who have come into India, yes, before Muslims, have settled here, but they are the ones who don't allow us into their temples, who don't allow us to sit with them and eat. So behavior-wise, who is acting as a foreigner? Who is acting as an outsider? In order to ask these questions back to these Hindu Brahmin leaders, we guys need to read Dr. Ambedkar, because Dr. Ambedkar was also asked these questions. When he said that I want to fight for my Dalit community first, he was called unpatriotic. He was called as, well, then you don't care for India. You are good with the British Raj. So Dr. Ambedkar's literature has all of these answers for us. If somebody were to ask Muslims today, well, why are you condemning India? Anything that you condemn about India, even if it is scientific, reasonable, is considered unpatriotic. So I just want you guys to know that Dr. Ambedkar's literature has answers for that. Farooq, I'm right on time. I actually have a few more things to share if people are okay.
I think we are okay, Sid. I think we have some time. Yeah.
Okay, so basically what I was trying to share here was it is pretty audacious of Brahmins and those who they have called as Hindus to question Muslims who have opened their hearts, their religion, their masjids. And I know there's a little bit of caste system in Islam, but in fact, Muslims should be questioning Hindus and Brahmins and saying that it is your disease that you have given to us. So they need to be put on point for that. But what I'm trying to say here is that Muslims community as such need to learn a lot through Dr. Ambedkar so that we have answers when somebody calls Muslims as the outsiders, or why are you still here, go to Pakistan. You need to understand why Pakistan was created, how INC or Indian National Congress or BJP is doing wrong for the country, so that you can come off as patriotic and be there for the country. Not just blind loyalty, but through knowledge and everything. So one of the things I also wanted to share, and I kind of will end with this, is a nation or a people who doesn't know its history can't build its future. So let us look at points of collaboration between Muslims and Dalits through history. And it will be a good, hopeful thing for us all to take, because there has been such collaboration and coalition, and all we need to do is remember them and revive them. So Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, who were from the Shudra community, were the first ones to open up schools and also build orphanages and things like that. When Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule were kicked out of their own house, Fatima Sheikh and her brother took Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule in their house, and then they opened up schools. So Fatima Sheikh worked along with Savitribai Phule to open up schools for like women. So see, there is like collaboration which started way in the late 19th century. In Mahat Sangram was the first agitation done by Dr. Ambedkar to go get water from a public water tank. And for Mahat Sangram, he needed a space to host a meeting before that thing happened. And nobody would give him place. So the Muslims in that town were the ones who gave him the land to host that meeting. In Roundtable Conference, Gandhi tried to hatch a plan with the Muslim League and told them that I will vouch for Congress supporting your 14 demands if you oppose Dr. Ambedkar at the Roundtable Conference. And Muslim League leader Shaukat Ali Khan, Jinnah Liaquat Ali Khan, they stepped back and said, that is lack of integrity. We can't do that. We are asking and enjoying separate electorates. Dr. Ambedkar is also asking for separate electorates for his people, how can we in all good conscience oppose him? So see, there is Muslim League, which actually came and supported Dr. Ambedkar in his struggle for dignity, when Gandhi tried to go undercut him and do a under the table dealing with the Muslim League. During Government of India Act in 1935, which came about, there are enough instances where backward classes and Muslims worked together to build a lot of community projects. I'm bringing this up because later on, in about 5 years or so, Jinnah becomes really involved with Pakistan, and he takes a little different tone with the Muslim community and their nationalism. But right before that, there were occasions where community building was happening with Muslims and Dalits and other backward castes. And also, I already shared with you the example of Bengal. When Dr. Ambedkar could not get elected from anywhere else in India, it was Muslims and Namo Shudras, who are Dalits from Punjab, who settled in Bengal. They are the ones who got Dr. Ambedkar elected and sent to the Constituent Assembly. So if you dig into history and really learn the under narrative, which is of the oppressed people, and for us the main important person as a torch is Dr. Ambedkar, learn about his life, learn about his political career and everything, we will get there. There are a lot of coalition happening, and this answers the question of where do we start now? How do we work with the community? How do we work with the oppressed community? How can Muslims collaborate with the oppressed community in a way which is not always easily dismissed as communal? Can all these people here who are on here, maybe you want to put up a school in your city, but or in your town or village, instead of calling it a generic name or a Muslim invoking name, can you have a Savitri Bai Fatima Sheikh school? How relevant is it? How historically prominent is it? And what a strong message does it send? And I also know that some of us are trying to host Indian students here in the North America, and we want to provide them with housing or something. How awesome would it be if I had like a, let's say there is a college in Brampton, right? And then you host a few students there, and the house that you allow them to stay in is called Savitri Bai Fatima Sheikh International School, International House for Dalits and Religious Minorities. The statement that we make with such international names and international houses or international help will be huge. And as far as India is concerned, consult Dalit OBC leaders before taking a stand. It could be NRC, CAA. Understand where the main issue is, what else is under it, rather than just a Hindu-Muslim issue. So, and I will finally leave you guys with this. Allah the Exalted said, "O my servants, I have forbidden oppression for myself, and I have made it forbidden among you, so do not oppress one another." I do understand that Muslims are not the ones who are oppressing, but we still need to stand with the Mazlum. In some cases, per the Rajinder Sachar Commission report, Muslims have become the Mazlum in India. Forget about helping Dalits. Muslims should also help themselves. We are the Mazlum now. And Mazlum need to meet and collaborate so that we can get the oppressor out of the country. So there you go. That was my information that I had. And I do want to make sure that I leave it on a bed of hope. We have had collaboration before, even without knowing. We just need to dig and build upon such collaboration that we already have. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Sid. It's such wonderful and the real history that we all learned today. So I think this is where there are many minority communities have failed to understand the struggle, the internal and the external struggle that Dr. Ambedkar has gone through, and what he taught us from those struggles. I think that's what we have, as a CCIM, we have taken a mission to educate ourselves and educate our youths. This is really important for us in an organization where we wanted to bring leaders like Siddharth, who can articulate it well, who can tell us the real history about what real India is, right? So we Muslims, Dalits, we are all blood brothers, right? So we understand each other, we respect each other, and I think that's where, today we have got Siddharth to bring that narrative where the real freedom will come when we need to join with the real people who wanted the justice, which will come with the we need to start an alliance with the Dalits, Sikhs, and other Indian Christian minorities who are also being oppressed. Thank you, Sid. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the thought process that you have brought in today. Thank you.